love in the dead of night, and you tell me that you're pleased and that I am never alone. You're a good, good Father. It's who you are. It's who you are. It's who you are, and I'm loved by you. It's who I am. It's who I am. I count on one thing. The same God that never fails will not fail me now. You won't fail me now. In the waiting.
Oh.
The same God that never fails.
I don't think so.
Working all things out. Oh yes, I will lift you high in the lowest valley. Yes, I will praise your name. Oh yes, I will sing for joy when my heart is heavy all my days. Oh yes, I will for all my days. Oh yes, I will. I count on one thing. The same God that never fails will not fail me now. You won't fail me now in the waiting. The same God who's never late is working all things out. Working all things out. Oh yes, I will lift you high in the lowest valley. Yes, I will praise your name. Oh yes, I will sing for joy when my heart is heavy all my days. Oh yes, I will for all my days. Oh yes, I will, and I choose to praise, to glorify, glorify the name of all names that nothing can stand against, and I choose to praise, to glorify, glorify the name of all names that nothing can stand against. Oh yes, I will lift you high in the lowest valley. Yes, I will praise your name. Oh yes, I will sing for joy when my heart is heavy all my days. Oh yes, I will for all my days. Oh yes, I will. Yes, I will lift you high in the lowest valley. Yes, I will praise your name. Oh yes, I will sing for joy when my heart is heavy all my days. Oh yes, I will for all my days. Oh yes, I will. All right, this one might not be as familiar, but you're gonna probably want to get up and sing and dance along. It's okay if you get the words wrong. I might too. You guys are smart, all sitting in the shade. God, I'm on my knees again. God, I'm begging, please again. I need you. Oh, I need you. Walking down this desert road, water for my thirsty soul. I need you. your grace. God, I need it every day. It's the only thing that ever really makes me want to change. I don't want to abuse your grace. God, I need it every day. It's the only thing that ever really makes me want to change. I don't want to abuse your grace. God, I need it every day. It's the only thing that ever really makes me want to change. Your forgiveness is like sweet, sweet honey on my lips, like the sound of a symphony to my ears, like holy water on my skin. Your forgiveness is like sweet, sweet honey on my lips, like the sound of a symphony to my ears, like holy water on my skin, like holy water on my skin. Oh, it's like holy water. Letting go of every single dream, I lay each one down at your feet. Every moment of my wandering never changes what you see. I've tried to win this war, I confess. My hands are weary, I need your rest. Mighty warrior, king of the fight. No matter what I face, you're by my side. When you don't move the mountains, I'm needing you to move. When you don't part the waters, I wish I could walk through. When you don't give the answers as I cry out to you, I will trust, I will trust, I will trust in you. Truth is, you know what tomorrow brings. There's not a day ahead you have not seen. So in all things, be my life and breath. I want what you want, Lord, and nothing less. When you don't move the mountains, I'm needing you to move. When you don't part the waters, I wish I could walk through. When you don't give the answers as I cry out to you, I will trust, I will trust, I will trust in you. You are my strength and comfort. You are my steady hand. You are my firm foundation, the rock on which I stand. Your ways are always higher. Your plans are always good. There's not a place where I'll go you've not already stood. When you don't move the mountains, needing you to move. When you don't part the waters, I will give the answers as I cry out to you.
I was on there for a second.
I will trust, I will trust, yes. I will trust in you. I will trust in you. Lord, I will trust in you.
Is that me? All right. A little loud, Ian. Well, good morning, good morning. This is good stuff. And I want to just say something real quick because when you sing a song, Denise, pay attention to this, what I'm about to say, because it's for you. So it's for all of us, but I know when we talk about family and we talk about church, we talk about community, we talk about getting to know each other. So Denise has been going through a difficult time, right? And the Smiths has been going through a difficult time, and many of you have been going through a difficult time. And then you sing a song like that, like I will trust in you. There's something about that when you declare through music something that's in your soul. It stirs something up. It says, this is what I really believe. This is who I am when I'm at my best, when I'm reminded of the good news, that I'm never alone, that God is with us, and that we can do all things through him. But like to declare that, to sing that is very, very powerful. So wherever you're at this morning, just know that God has your back. He's the one who's in control, and that we can trust him. But there's a working out of our faith. You know what I mean? Like this, it just doesn't happen, and it comes through sharing. A lot of this has to do with us being with each other, getting to know each other, sharing with each other, and then in that, God can use it. I feel like you guys are so far away. Can you still see me on the camera? So I'm going to keep moving a little bit. So, how are we doing online? Are we online too? All right, cool. So, I want to do like a quick introduction, and then we'll do a couple of quick announcements, and then we'll get into a new series. So, first of all, my name is Sean Smith. I get to serve here as the pastor at Stone Coast. Glad that you're here, both in person and online. This is an awesome opportunity. And one of the things at Stone Coast is that we like to keep it real. We like to have it be interactive. So actually, even if you're here, if you have the ability to use your phone and go on Facebook, we actually encourage it, because throughout the teaching, we'll ask questions. And then if you put your comments on Facebook, we'll be able to see those. We also pass a microphone around here live. So if you want to, even from your seat, if you want to just sit there and share something, you're more than welcome to do that. If this is your first time being with us, whether in person or online, this is the other reason. If you pull out your phones, go on Facebook, we're going to have a link in there, right? So there's a Connect card. The Connect card is simply a way of engaging with us and getting to know about us. Maybe we can answer any questions that you have, but it's that first, that first correspondence, if you will, to be able to engage and know what's happening here at Stone Coast. So just type the word Connect, and then you'll get a link to a form that you can fill out. We'd love to get to know you better. And then, of course, giving. I think in person we have a giving box way over there to my left, your right. And if you'd like to give in person, as some of you are in the habit of doing, that's awesome. If you want to give online, again, there'll be a link online that you can to have you engage. You know, one of the things that I think is important, if you've been coming for any length of time, this is your first time, obviously there's nothing in us that would. But if you've been coming for a while and you believe in the mission, you believe in what we're up to, then giving. There's something about participation. There's something about, I believe in what you're doing, and this is my way of contributing. And obviously we work toward the tithe, we work toward generosity. These are values of the scriptures, and they support everything that we do to make a difference in our lives here, but also in the community. So thank you for your generosity. I also want to thank you for... My family and I were very blessed. Most of you... Diane's father, Ron, passed away last Saturday, and we had the services on Friday. So just a couple of days ago, prayers, generosity, meals, cards, gifts, we how grateful we are. It means the world to trust that that's indicative of who we are as a church family for all of us who are in need, and that's special. We did have a beautiful ceremony, just so you know, like difficult, right? But even in the midst of death, there's still beauty. There's still memories. There's still things to celebrate, because we celebrate life. And one of the things I like to do is when someone that I know passes, like, how can I honor them by how I live? You know what I mean? Like, how we live matters. And when we lose someone, hopefully, it kind of raises up the value of urgency, that we're not promised tomorrow, and that what we have here and now is all we have. So let's make the most of it. And to me, it boils down to relationships, our relationships to God and our relationships to others. And so I just wanted to thank you for that. Now, today, what we're going to be doing is starting a new series called Oola. So Oola La. So O-O-L-A, Oola. So you can have fun with that, a little Oola La. But it's about transforming your lives. See, we want to take personal discipleship very, very seriously. So this is a step that's kind of new to us at Stone Coast, where we want to give you tools that are very, very practical that you can put into your life, right? I said to you guys before that if having a relationship with Christ is not changing us, if it's not making a distinction in our lives, then why would people that don't have faith, why would they ever want to? You know what I'm saying? Like, it takes something to give up some time on a Sunday morning or some time during the week to give of ourselves. And if it's not making a difference, I ask myself, well, why? Why bother? And so for me, this starts with you personally. If my life is being changed and your life is being changed, then we can spread that. We can pass that on to others. And so this series is really about you in a sense of how can you transform your own life. I like to think of it as soul care. How many of you are busy? Go ahead. So much so that soul care is not really present. Raise your hands if that's true. You're not really able to care for yourself in a way that you can get to the other things that matter to you, right? Because there's something out of balance. So what Oola does, we'll actually look at, I think, a wheel. Is that right? We're going to look at a wheel. We're going to be team teacher today, so Carol will be coming up in a little bit too. And so there's a wheel that you look at these 7 areas of life, and you start to say, like, if I was driving a car on this wheel of my life, and let's look at my finances. My finances are a mess. I'm a 2 out of 10. So every time something comes up about finances, boom, it's like hitting a hole in the pavement, right? Or my fitness, if my fitness is out of whack. So like every day is like, my gosh, my fitness gets in the way. So that wheel, if you're a 4 out of 10 on the wheel, it's like, this is going to be a hard way to go through life. It's going to be a bumpy ride. So what we want to do is come around you, support you, so you can evaluate your life. Now, I've said this to you before, that I think one of the things that the enemy does, right, the good and the evil, is that just keep us so busy reflecting and assessing and saying, how am I doing? Then life is just happening to you and not for you, right? And we want to reverse that. We want to help you come around that. So after you take a personal inventory, you just kind of assess. You'll be able to set some goals, take some action steps. I believe that if you take one little action step toward your goal, you're improving and you're changing. And then you just keep moving and get that momentum working for you. And then we're going to look at 2 other areas, right? So next week we're going to look at what we call blockers, these things that get in the way. So all of us, how many of us do the New Year's resolution thing where it's like, all right, this year it's going to be different. I'm going to lose 30 pounds, and I'm going to go to the gym 3 days a week, and I'm going to eat right and all this stuff. And then 2 weeks in, shoot, we'll wait till next New Year's resolutions, right? So it's just we get in a rut. We get in these patterns. And so why? It's because there's blockers. All of us have different blockers. And when those they block us from God's best. So we're going to teach and talk around how do you get around those blockers. And then the last part, week 3, we'll talk about how do you use accelerators, right? What are the things that we can learn how to leverage that leads to a life of victory? So here's a question for you. This is both online and in person. So what do you think if people ask you, like, what do you do at Stone Coast? What would be your answer? Go ahead and write that online, write that on your phone right now, and then I'll take a couple of answers out loud. But if people came up to you and say, hey, what's this all about? Like, what do you guys actually do at Stone Coast? Like, what are you about? How would you answer that? Write online, but also just start shouting out some answers.
I mow the lawn.
You mow the lawn. That's what you do at Stone Coast. Way to set the tone, Charles. Kids can, all right? Making a difference in the community. I'll talk a little bit about that just to get, it's not just about doing kids, but in Bristol on the Commons, there was a drug issue. Some things were happening with drugs, and drug dealers were taking over the Commons, and the families weren't playing out in this beautiful area set up for the kids and the families. They weren't doing that, so drug dealers are coming in and soliciting little children with drugs. So we said, well, we got to do something about it. And so our small way of doing something is let's do a week-long camp to kind of take it back.
and we're going to have all sorts of activities. So, last year we couldn't do it because of COVID. The year before, had about 100 kids out there, and the families were playing. It was just this beautiful thing. So that's an answer of what do we do at Stone Coast. What else? Should have had some conversations this past week, I would imagine, right? If you're on top of your game. Let's go. Man, this is tough. What are they saying online? Anything, Di? Go ahead, just shout up.
I learned about
Extending myself to others, right? I learned how to extend myself to others. Great. What else? That's awesome. Come on, you all should just be shouting out stuff. This isn't hard. What do we do? Be the light. Soul care. What else? Be a better person. Serving. Listen to God. Trust. Learn how to trust God? Is that what we're saying or what? Okay, learn how to trust others, learn how to trust God in the midst of that. Helping each other. Worshiping together. Eat ice cream together. That's so good. We'll do that right after we're done here. Good. All right. So you're getting a flavor of what we do here. So if I had to boil it all down, what we do. So whenever I think about this, because these are the kinds of things, I know that these are the things that we do as a result of, but the Bible calls us to go and make disciples. So everything that you just listed, everything you just said, we are here to make disciples. Because disciples do those things. If you're a disciple of Jesus Christ, you're going to go and serve the other. If you're a disciple of Jesus Christ, you're going to go and care for the other. You're going to do all these things that you just talked about because of your love for the Father, and you want to follow the example of Christ as you're empowered by the Holy Spirit. So everything we do centers around how can we help each of us grow as stronger and healthier disciples that are continually becoming more like Christ. And it comes from the Great Commission. So there's a slide, Brian, Kenny. There's a slide that I want to put up if we can. It's from Matthew 28. It says, then the 11 disciples went to Galilee, to the mountain. Sometimes, do you ever get that? When you're just like, oh shoot, there's only 11 disciples, something happened to one. You get that? All of a sudden, they didn't all make it. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like life kind of just happened to a couple of them. They got caught up in different things. Now there's 11 disciples that went to Galilee, and they went to the mountain where Jesus had told them to go. When they saw him, they worshiped him, but some doubted. I love that. We think we have to have it all together. It's like, no. As Christ followers, if you're not asking difficult questions that are causing you to doubt, then you're kind of taking steps of blind faith versus really trying to understand who God is through his son, Jesus Christ, through wrestling with the scriptures, because the scriptures are not easy. To get them integrated into our lives should raise up tons of questions. And that's coming from me, the pastor. I'm saying, I have lots of doubts. Because how does this match up? How does this all work out? Because what I see and what I experience doesn't always. And so I want to wrestle with that. So some worshiped him and some doubted it, and that was great because the Great Commission was given to both. Continue in verse 18. Then Jesus came to them, and this is what he said. All authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. Therefore, go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit. And then teach them to obey everything I have commanded you. This idea of obeying is integrating scriptures and biblical values into our lives. And then it says, a promise, surely I am with you always to the very end of the age. So God hasn't given up on us. He's still working in our lives today for his kingdom to come and for his will to be done. So why do we do this thing called Oola? Why are we doing this series? The very first thing is so that we can become more like Christ. As disciples, we're here to be like Christ and to be conformed into his image. So I just grabbed a few real quick verses just to kind of prime the pump. Many of you have heard these verses before, but Romans 8 says, "For whom he foreknew, he also predestined to be conformed to the image of his Son." So even before we were born, God knew us, and he had a plan for us. And it's to become like his Son, to live out his ways. And then 1 Corinthians, a very simple verse, I love it though. It says, "Be imitators of me as I am of Christ." Wouldn't you love, like after we do Oola, and I'm going to encourage us to go through this every 6 months as a church, to have all of us go through it every 6 months, because if you're like me, there's always work to be done. We're always works in progress, right? So this time I might work on my fitness. The next time I might work on my finances. The next time I might work on my faith, etc., right? And so we're always works in progress. And then, but wouldn't it be great, you get to a place where you're able to talk to the people that you love and care for, and you say, you can imitate me. Like, I don't have $10,000 of debt. You know what I mean? Like, my finances are in a place that we have a tremendous freedom. We never argue about that. Like, wouldn't other people in your life love to get there? You know what I mean? Like, that they have a belief in God in their faith life, in their field, what you do for a living. That really matters. Are you passionate about what you do for a living? Are you growing and being a better disciple at work? Are you making a difference and adding value? So if you are, then you can look to people and say, imitate what I'm all about. And then that you can pass it on to others. And this is a great series to invite your friends and family members that maybe wouldn't otherwise come to church. We're going to, on June 13th, we're going to actually have Sunday morning. This is how important this is to us. Is we're saying, you know what, we're going to take a Sunday morning to do the course. So Sunday, June 13th, from 10 to 1, we're going to have a service here live for everyone that wants to go through it. And then we're also going to show it online for Zoom. So via Zoom, we're going to do this. And we're saying it matters so much that we are going to have that, quote unquote, be church. This is your first time viewing this. The last series we were in was called Tangible Kingdom. We said how we do church is going to change. So this is just an example of, like, this is taking it seriously. Like, I want to transform my life. Do you take this seriously in your own life? Like, that it actually matters, that how you live matters. And if I can live in such a way that other people would want what we have, that would be worth giving some time to. To me, this is one of the most important aspects of being a Christ follower. This idea of personal transformation. Because it talks about in the book of Ephesians, it says, take off the old self and put on the new. This idea of, like, there's plenty of things for us to work on. I got to take off being impatient. I got to take off being filled with resentment. I got to take off being in debt. I got to take off being overweight. I got to take off working 80 hours a week. Like, whatever those things are, I got to take them off, and then I'm going to put on the things of Christ. So this idea of doing things his way and not my way. One of the things that I'm always fascinated by with Jesus is that the sinners and tax collectors loved being with him. And then I ask us as Christ followers today, how do we spend our time, and do, quote unquote, sinners and tax collectors love being with us? Do they love being with us from Monday to Saturday? Do they love being with us on a Sunday morning experience where they could grow in their understanding of who God is? Do we love being with people that are different than us, that have different sexuality, that look different from us, different socioeconomic backgrounds? Like, do we like just being with people because God made all people? Because somehow they love being with Jesus. They love spending time with him. And so we should wrestle with that, because it's important that we live such lives that people want to be with us. If we're known, like, as people who are judgmental and legalistic, I don't want to be with you, friend. You know what I'm saying? Like, who would want to be with you? Like, I don't want to be with people like that. Like, people ask me, are you religious? No, I'm not religious. Because what they mean when they say you're religious is all the negative stuff. Like, I don't want to have anything to do with that. What I want to have to do is what you guys all said. I want to care for people. I want to give of myself to those that are less fortunate. I want to make a difference in the world. I want my life to matter. I want to add value to people's lives. If that's what you call religion, then yes, I'm all in. The Bible says religion is when you care for the widows and the aliens and the orphans. That's what he calls true religion. So there's something in us, like, are we becoming the kinds of people that others want to be with? They want to be around us. Or do they feel like we're kind of like snooty, that we're better than everyone else? We have it all figured out. Man, we got to just get real with people. And that's what this does. So I hope that during this week, these next 3 weeks, that you're having conversations with people. Say, hey, I do want you to come. I want you to come on a Sunday morning because we're going to be talking about these 7 areas. And I think it could be beneficial to you. Would you be willing to risk doing that? And if you guys told me, seriously, if you said, I'm willing to bring my friends here, just don't do music, I would do that. Because I want to know what will get your friends here that they would feel comfortable with. Or if you said, you know what, they love music, you just got to do a little bit different kind of music. And then I'll say, hey, Mark, yeah, do your thing, right? Play some music that you play when you go out to Barrington in the restaurant, you know? Because why? Because it matters. If you are the Christians already and you get it, then we're living this life so that we can be transformed, so that we can fulfill on the mission, which is he came to seek and save the lost. So can we set up a time? That's what this Sunday, June 13th is all about. This is an opportunity. They don't need to be here week 1, 2, and 3 to get it, just so you know. You show up on June 13th and take the Oola course, it will help change your life. So that's what we're building toward. All right, so just a real quick, and on that day, so the Oola course is $20, because if it adds value to your life, then putting money on it makes a difference. You know, we offer things all the time for free, and then people are just kind of like, well, if I don't show up, it's not a big deal. No, what you give money to, you actually care about. So $20 is actually, obviously not a lot of money. There won't be kids' church on that day, okay? Because we're going to go from 10 to 1. So you have to arrange babysitting, or you can join us via Zoom. All right, but these are the things that we're saying matters so much that we're willing to do these things. So here are the 7 F's of Oola. I already kind of talked about a few, but just quickly. Fitness, family, finance, field, friends, faith, and fun. All right, those are the 7 F's that we're going to look at. And I want you to put it through the filter of Romans 12:2. It says this: do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. So this goes back to what I said earlier. Many of us are either too busy, or we have defaulted to going through the motions of life, where we just let life happen to us. Right? We're not being intentional and saying, no. You know what? I'm in debt right now. I'm going to get help so that I can no longer be in debt, because that's hanging over me. What do you argue about with your spouse? You're arguing about finances, or something that's indirectly resulted from your finances. We can't do that because we can't afford it. I don't want to open up the mailbox because the next bill's coming in and I don't want to pay that bill. We can't afford it, right? There's so many things that happen around our finances. These are the different things. So what do? I default to just letting life happen to me instead of for me. And then I love this little quote from Socrates. He says, the unexamined life is not worth living. We actually trick ourselves into thinking we're living life, and we're deceiving ourselves if we're not examining what we're doing and who we are and who we're becoming. Do you know who you want to be in 20 years from now? Have you ever done that exercise? Literally, you write it out and say, I'm 49 years old. When I'm 69 years old, what do I want to be? How do I want to be remembered? What do I want to be doing? Well, if I don't have a picture of that, then between 49 and 69, it's just going to happen. But if I can bring intentionality and say, you know what, in these next 2 years, here's how I'm going to go. And the next year, I'm going to do this. And the next year, I'm going to do this. All of a sudden, you're becoming the person that God created you to be. But it takes teaming up with Him and us doing the work. So part of this is having a biblical worldview. My goal is for myself and for all of us, how can we live this one life more fully for Christ? See, by looking at each of these 7 areas, then making changes actually matters. It matters to your life, and then it actually has an impact on everybody else. If you're married, it has a difference in your spouse. If you have children, it's how you parent. You go to work, it's your colleagues. Every aspect of your life, you get to look at and then be very intentional. Okay, so pull out your phones again. Here's another question. What's one of the most important commodities we need in life to be first of all, let me tell you this. The first one I'm going to talk about is fitness. Okay? Oola actually starts with fitness, and that's so interesting that of the 7 F's, when we talk about it, we start with fitness. And so I'm like, why is that the case? So then that leads me to this question. What's one of the most important commodities we need in life to be successful? Don't yell it out yet. Write it in your phone, and then let me see if anyone says anything. Be thinking about that answer. This is a very, very important answer. I'm going to give about 25 seconds and then start shouting out what you come up with. Brian, do I have to stay like central? I can move. Anyone got their answers ready? Go ahead, raise your hand. Go ahead, Mark. Self-control. All right? If you're not fit, you can't do anything else. An open mind. Health and wellness. Confidence. Communication. Awareness of how your behavior affects others. Now I'm going to bring you back, these are all great answers. This is under the category of fitness. Okay? No, but that's cool. Score. Energy. We'll come back to that in a minute. Determination. Yes, right? Because you learn something about yourself. You pick yourself up when you fail. You pick yourself up when you fail, right? And that way you never fail. You just learn. Anyone else? Go ahead in the back, Jen. Say it louder. Forgiveness in the sense of, so under fitness, this idea of forgive myself because I didn't maybe align myself with what I set out to do or set out to eat or whatever. Yes? Good. What is it? Whole? Whole. To be whole? Goal.
Like
you set a goal?
I'm not a gym person at all. But if I think of something that I want to do in the birth or whatever, and
yep.
I can see it later what it's going to be, then I'll physically be like, yes, I'm going to do that because I know I'm going to do it.
Right. Yeah, so you set a goal because you know this is the vision that I have. This is what I want it to look like. And now when I set a goal, I learn something. I say this, you learn something about yourself, and then you learn something about God. Because whether you reach the goal or not, if you're stepping toward it, it's okay to get off course a little bit and then self-correct. Right? This is what we'll learn from this. In the back, Sarah? Discipline. We learn discipline, which is one of the fruits of the Spirit. Right? It's the 9th fruit of the Spirit. Discipline plays out into all these other areas of our lives. So these are great answers. The answer that I would suggest, and again, I'll put it out there for you to wrestle with, to think about, is what Denise said, is energy. And a lot of the things that we talked about has to do with that. But think about, I'm going to have a little fun here, okay, because I'm from fun country. But if you lack energy, right? So I have never really been told I lack energy, right? I'm a very energetic person. And so, all right, let's look at your marriages just for a second. All right, this is gonna be funny, right? It's not really funny. Would you want to be married to someone in energy who's a 2 or a 10 out of 10, right? So do you want to be married to somebody who, let's pick on some guys for a while. So I worked all day. I'm tired. I'm just going to sit on the couch and have a beer and put on the TV because isn't that cool? You got the rest. You can handle the kids. You can get them ready for dinner. You can clean up. You can, right? So I'm tired. I worked all day. And there's some reality to that too, right? Like I'm picking on us, but there's something about that. Like I worked 8, 10, 12 hours. I am a little bit tired. But what if you had like tanks of energy left over so that when I came home, I'm actually present for my wife. I'm actually present for my kids. You know one of the things that drove me as a young parent? I didn't want to be an absentee father. I didn't want to be a father that said one thing and did another. If I told you I'm going to be home and play with you, or we're going to practice football, or we're going to do this or that, I show up. And I don't just show up when I'm on my phone. You know, like, yeah, oh, you're good. And I would guilty of that. I did that sometimes. But that's when the Spirit of God, as you set a goal, say, hey, put down your stinking technology when you're with your kids. Because they know. Your phone call matters more than I do. Do you understand that that's how they internalize that? I can't even get you to spend time with me. You're always on your phone or your computer. Kids, they're 3, 5 years old. They're not sophisticated enough to understand, like daddy or mommy's got to do X, Y, and Z. So having energy, when you show up, your spouse resonates with you all of a sudden when you're there. Honey, how can I help you? Do you know, men, when you're most sexy? Chuck, tell me when you're most sexy. You're sexy and we know it. When are you? Come on. Misty, when's he most sexy? Don't say in the bedroom. When is he? What is it? He's doing the dishes. He's doing the yard work with the shirt off too, Charles, right? PFR, baby. That stands for perfectly firm roundness. Well, you guys a little bit, you got some work to do, right? So we can have some fun here. What else do I want to say? So women, all right? Men, would you want your wife, and I'm talking to married people here, because in our society, we think sex, right? Every movie, those books, those things, what do? Every single sex scene is between what? Single people or married people having affairs, as if that's the good sex life. That's what our society tells us. All right, now us married folks that know what we're doing. Would you want to be married to a woman who's a 2 or a 10 with their energy levels? Come on. What do you want? A 10. Energy. We want energy. Right? Like, come on now. You're in your relationship, and like, now your wife, I got a headache. The kids have been on me all day long. I don't have time for you. Gerard, what do you want to say? A 7? you are a little older generation, I get that. A 7, he says he needs some rest, 7s. All right, now we're talking. I got you laughing a little bit, you're engaged. That's good, that's what this is all about. This is simply under fitness. And fitness isn't necessarily how you look. A lot of it is how you feel, like confidence. Someone said confidence. In certain cultures, like bigger women is like, that's a good thing, right? They feel sexy and this is what their culture says. So it's not necessarily about how you look, but do you have energy? Are you showing up? Are you present? Are you making the things happen that you want to see happen? That's all just under fitness. All right, I gotta turn this over to Kara. Kara, you're gonna have tons of time. She's like crossing off this. All right, I'm gonna go fast. All right, I got family, and then Kara's gonna come up and talk about finance, field, and friends. We'll be real quick. So let me just give you this under family. For some of us, when family is going great, right? There's nothing better. But we also know when family is like not going well, it can just suck the life out of you. Right? Like, this is important to get. And so what do? We have to figure out how to, all right, when's the hardest time? I already know the answer. It's in my notes. I can show you my notes after. All of you are going to say the same thing. Examine your Monday through Friday. You're singing, Denise. You guys just did something? Or was that before? A little time delay? We got music going on. Something happened.
Commercial.
A little commercial. Good job, James. That was good. What was I saying? Marriage, family. What was I saying? Oh, Monday through Friday, right? When is the most difficult time when you guys bicker at each other? It's just tension, it's stressful, it's hard. Monday through Friday, maybe not Friday, because you may be looking for the weekend, but definitely Monday through Thursday. Go ahead, yell it out. What's the time of day and what's going on? Yeah, and let's expand that. Tell me the times.
End of day.
End of day, give me times.
The bewitching hours.
8 p.m.
8 p.m. 5 to 8. Anyone? 5 to 8? 6 to 9? 5 to 8, right? 3 hours. 3 hours people get divorced over. There's 24 hours in a day. Because of 3 hours, because we failed to give attention to it and strategize. How could we solve it? You guys are smart people. Go to the gym, right? Yeah, leave for one of those hours. That's a good one, right? But if you solve that 3-hour window, think about how much better your family life would be. If you would just take time, and I'm not saying look at what we did, you figure it out for you. But it matters because I was just on a call the other night. I'm in a men's group, right, with guys that I would say probably don't consider themselves to be Christians, right? So I would say it's a non-Christian men's group, and I love being there with them, and we grow together, we challenge each other, and we were talking about this very thing. And now most of the guys in the group are probably between 25 and 40. I'm the elder spokesman. But the guys that were sharing were probably 35 to 40, and they were talking about still having forgiveness issues with their parents. That's still bothering them in their 30s and 40s. I just want you to get that for a second. Unresolved issues that happened when they were kids is still haunting them when they're 30 and 40 years old. This is important. This is generational. All right, so I'm just going to pass it over to Kara. Take us home, Kara. It's hot. Whew.
I've been watching you work out.
Wow, I got a sunburn. That's for Kara coming up. No, that's nice.
Thank you. Am I good? All right. It's also windy,
Hold on.
and I wasn't prepared
hold on, what are
except
you
for this.
speaking into?
Can you hear me?
No, what are you speaking into?
I'm saving myself from more embarrassment than this. I'm just saying that it's windy. Have you been watching the wind? It's windy enough for this to turn badly.
All right.
Ingenuity is not one of the 7 F's, but surely we should get some credit for that. Sean's certainly bringing the energy, so I'm going to need to amp it up here. But I'm going to talk about fitness. Excuse me, I am not talking about fitness. I purposely gave him that one and fun because he's from fun country. And I emigrated from fun country a few years back somehow. I'm not really sure how that happened. But so Sean's taking care of fun also. But I'm going to talk about finance here first. I'd like you to imagine for a minute a debt-free life. What does that look like for you? Imagine waking up one day feeling no stress about your finances. You're able to save for your future, maybe your children's education. You're free to give generously. Imagine what that's like. Most of us don't live that way. Now this lifestyle, unless you're banking on winning the lottery, which by the way, more money just means more stress, right? Because if you have poor financial management here, you're going to have it here as well. So that lifestyle is possible, but it doesn't come without intentionality and sacrifice. Do you know that finances is the #1 strain on marriages? If you're married, it's going to be a hot mess out here. Carry on. That was smooth. If you're married, you can relate.
I'm just gonna sit here
Yeah,
and watch
thanks for the help.
This is fun.
Thank you. Finances is also the #1 reason why people lose their passion in life and their purpose. Because when you are relying on a certain level of income, if you will, to keep your lifestyle and such, guess what? You have fewer choices in your job, don't you? Suddenly you're stuck. You feel trapped because you need to uphold a certain income. It smothers us. That weight of unrelenting financial stress keeps us from living the life that God has planned for us. This is not how we were designed either. And you know, the Bible actually has a lot to say about finances, debt, and generosity. In fact, only second to the kingdom of God is it mentioned most in the Bible. I think that Jesus knew how easily it would be for us to get snagged up, right? Remember, he lived as a human just like all of us. He saw the challenges, and he has a lot to say about it. He knew that material possessions would be a draw for us. So let's hear a couple things he says about how to manage our finances. One of the most frequent quotes about finance is in Matthew 6, 19 through 21. Don't store up treasures here on earth where moths eat them and rust destroys them, and where thieves break in and steal. Store your treasures in heaven, where moths and rust cannot destroy and thieves do not break and steal. Wherever your treasure is, there lies the desires of your heart. There's something so empowering about not having debt hanging over us. So by using some of the Oola principles we're going to talk about in week 4, by using some of those and some of Dave Ramsey's, many of you have done his Financial Peace University. By using some of those, my husband and I, over the past year and a half, have paid off $31,000 in debt. Woo! Amen. We also paid for his graduate degree in cash. Now, I want you to know I'm not overpaid here. This isn't because we have, ridiculous amounts of money, extra money hanging around. It comes through serious sacrifice and intentionality. We're only a couple $1,000s away from being debt-free, sans our house, and we have a plan for that by the end of the summer. So I'm not telling you that to brag in any way. Please don't hear that. I'm telling you more of a confession. I too carry debt, right? It's debilitating at times. It's stressful in our marriages. It keeps us from taking steps forward and doing things that we really want to do. More importantly, things that God has intended for us. Money is so important to Jesus because it reveals who we are. So, I'm going to encourage you to think about that this week. Where are your finances? How is it getting in the way of living the life God has planned for you? I'm excited to do this workshop in week 4 because when I see people living a life that is balanced and purposeful, it's amazing. It is so exciting to watch that unfold. So, any thoughts on finances before we move on? Anyone want to share anything? A win lately, or what it's like to live without debt? Anyone? All right, I'm going to move on. So we're going to talk about field, which is your career. Now, for most of us, as Sean mentioned earlier, the majority of our average week is spent at our jobs, right? If you're a stay-at-home mom, you're spending that time at home as well, and you're working hard. So I don't want to take away from that. But our society is a career-driven society, and it places high value, doesn't it, on big incomes, prestigious titles, hustle, big houses. It's such an ugly draw for us. Our field is often the main reason, though, that our lives are drastically out of balance. Sign me up for that. I've talked about that here before, about how, Sean mentioned it earlier. The enemy distracts us, right? What's worse is when he distracts us with good things. He distracts us with ministry. It's like, yeah, you're doing good stuff. But what's happening? All those other things, all those other 7 spokes of my wheel are out of balance. They're hurt. Something else has to give. Now, Jesus also balanced this beautifully, didn't he? He shows us over and over in the scriptures how he slipped away from ministry. Now let's just all maybe agree that his ministry was pretty important work. He had a pretty important job to do while he was here, right? But he balanced that. He showed us how to serve and how to set healthy boundaries. It's not like we're left to assume those things, Well, of course he did that. He showed us how he did that. He talked about that. It's unlike in the movies, right? Watching this really intense, thriller or cop show, right? And they're working like 48 hours a day. They're like, do they sleep? Have they even gone to the bathroom? Like, how do they, He didn't leave that up to our imagination. He told us how he balanced this. He slipped away. He took time. He took time to be with his family. He took time to be with his friends. He took time to be with God. He stepped away into the mountains, right? He built that into our story, into his story. So he balanced his ministry of serving others with friends and fun. So I want to ask you this question today. Are you missing out on the important things of life because your work life is out of balance? It's a hard question. Kind of hurts too. Kind of like, ugh. So don't let it go by. Don't let it hurt your family life. Don't let it hurt your friendships. Let's evaluate that. So Sean talked about the 7 F's of Oola and how we like to think of that as a wheel, right? And each of those 7 F's are a spoke, and one is out of balance, right? Or a few are out of balance. Or let's say you're all 2s out of 10 all the way around. You're moving pretty slowly because that tire needs some air. I like to also think of them as gears. So if you think about how gears work, right? All the teeth are they're turning together. And one of those teeth not working or it gets snagged up, it impacts all the other gears. So there's a couple of visuals for you to think through. The other piece to feel that I think is important to not just go by, not just the amount of time we invest in our careers, but also, are you passionate about what you do? At Stone Coast, we talk about that a lot, don't we? We talk about why we're here on Earth. What is our why? No! Someone help me! This is going to be ugly.
Go into the water.
That's it, Misty. Can we give Misty a hand? Oh gosh, a hot mess.
See that energy, what it did to Chuck right there? Misty? It's impressive. I like your energy.
They're always up. I know, it didn't work. Yeah, thank you. Where was I? You brought in the second string today. So it's not just about the hours that we spend, thank you, but whether we're purposeful in our field. Now, it's not always possible to just quit your job and do something that you're passionate about, right? It may not pay the bills for you and your family, and that is true. But there may be other ways that you can fill that passion and live out your purpose. I'd like to share a little story, and I'll keep it anonymous. But I was doing some coaching with a woman who was very clear that, I need a new job. My job is not purposeful. I don't feel good about, like I'm making a difference in the world. And through the coaching process, we recognized she needed this job to get herself out of debt. And we did the Find Your Why experience. And I'll paraphrase, but her why is to encourage others. And so by simply taking her purpose and putting it into this purposeless job that she captured, right? She was now going to work feeling filled. She was encouraging the people at her job. She was pouring into them, caring for them. And so this same job that, months earlier was the bane of her existence. It was terrible. It wasn't toxic, but it just wasn't great, right? Now she's bringing purpose to where she is. She's bringing the love of Christ into that workplace. And it's changed her perspective. So sometimes balance could be created through our boundaries at work. Sometimes it requires a bold step to find a new job. And sometimes just the simple shift in our perspective can help us achieve balance in our field as well. All right, any thoughts on that? Please don't go into work tomorrow, quit your job without a plan. That would not be good. But if you need help coming up with a plan, we can help you with that. So I'm going to touch on friends. Does anyone have any thoughts they want to share about Feel before we go on? Yeah. Friends. Friends is such a huge piece of the 7 F's. Jesus was really the ultimate model of a good friend, wasn't he? He somehow found a way to both encourage his friends and pour into them and challenge his friends to live lives that reflected his teachings and the Father. So he, the Son of God, Jesus, the Son of God, humbled himself to serve his friends, right? Think about the Last Supper. He washed their feet. The ultimate picture of humbling oneself to love their friends. He broke bread with them. He traveled down the road with them. He didn't just live a life in a neat little box over here and squeeze in his friends when he could. They were a huge piece of his work, of his ministry, of his life. He did life with them. I'd like you to just imagine a community of people here at Stone Coast doing life together. What does that look like to you? I'm going to pose that question to you all. What does it look like to do life together as a church? I'll give you just a second, and you can just start shouting it out while I find my next week.
Going out fishing. Wake up over there. Going out fishing.
Fishing. Nice.
Supporting one another.
Supporting one another. Supporting one another. Great. Fishing.
Staying in touch through social media.
Staying in touch through social media. Nice. Listening to your friends. Showing up.
Having fun together.
Having fun together. Go ahead. Coming alongside someone. Yes. Seeing a need, meeting a need, right? I can't find my last page, so I'm going to just go rogue here. I'm assuming it's pretty good stuff, but
Growing together.
growing together, yeah. Shout it out, I can't.
Support during trials.
Thank you. Support during trials, yeah. So, I'm going to share a little story. A few years back, I was in a pit, kind of a dark place, not really able to see a great way out. You know, it's really challenged by that. And my friend showed up with a meal and her cleaning bucket in hand, gloves on. It's like, I'm going to clean your house. Because when you're in that place, you're looking around and you're like, this place is a mess. And I really don't care. Right? And yet it's weighing on you. And she knew this fairly simple act of kindness was going to just give me a boost that day. She came in, cleaned my bathroom. Who does that? Right? Scrubbed it because, you know, it had been a few weeks. And so I want you to ask yourself, are you showing up for your friends? Sometimes we show up for our friends too much and those friendships are not reciprocated. So I'm going to ask you to examine that as well, right? We do have to give ourselves forgiveness to cut out toxic relationships, and that's okay. But are you showing up for your friends? Are you there when, not just for the fun stuff, right? But when they need you? Are we doing that for each other as a church community? Seeing a need and doing that? How are we intentionally being a good friend to others? I think that in our society, in our fast-paced world, it's so easy to kind of put that aside, right? Weeks will go by, you don't connect with your friend, and you kind of, oh, it's all right, we pick up right where we left off. And that's great. That's true. That is true and necessary, and those are good friendships. But we have to invest in our friends. We have to make sure that that part of our lives is also balanced. So Sean is going to talk about faith and fun, because he's from fun country.
I've invited you back.
He invited me back to fun country. I'm in.
All right, I'll be quick. The last two. First of all, thank you, Kara. That was great. I love the imagination, right? This is just to prime you to think about what would your life be like if you took one of these F's and you made a change. And then you watch the ripple effect and how that plays into every other area of your life. So under faith, I'm not going to take a ton of time here, but like one of the things about faith is a lot of times when I say like, where's the importance of God in your life? And a lot of people like start to make a list. Like I'll put God first, I'll put family second, I'll put job third, you know, and they're making a list. And I'm like, I understand that, but what happens in that list is that we always feel like failures. Because like, it's almost impossible to keep God first all the time. So what I want you to think about is maybe the transcendency of God. That simply means you have all of these different things, all your roles and responsibilities, who you are throughout every day, and you say, how can I bring God into the midst of that? So when Kara's talking about field, your work life, you're working 40, 50, 60 hours a week. If we're not bringing God into the middle of that, like discipleship, we're not becoming more like Christ at our jobs, we're missing out on the biggest chunk of time that we have. Just think about that. So God, we bring him into everything that we do. And then this verse I love, I think this could be on the screen, Kenny. This is from Isaiah 55. It says, for my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, declares the Lord. As the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. So this is something where, you know, like a lot of people you'll know, I think Lauren, you might have said this a week or so ago, where you talk about like a lot of people have good lives, right? They're doing okay, they're doing fine. Like, why would I need Oola? And Jesus had this amazing way. What I love about Jesus is he never left a person where they were. Like he had a confrontation in a good way that left the person better than when they had first arrived. So think about the story of the young rich ruler. Here's a guy, young, rich, and a ruler. Like not bad combination there. And he thinks he's on top of the world because not only is he young, not only is he rich, not only is he a ruler, he's also followed the commandments of God. He's like, Jesus, look, I'm doing great. I follow all these commands. And then Jesus looks at him and says, well, that's great, but will you sell everything and then come follow me? So Jesus looks at the one area that he had a hold on, he was unwilling to part with. That's where his security was, perhaps. That's what his God was, perhaps. And Jesus went for that very thing. So for me, all of us have an area that we can bring before God and then go to work on. And to me, that's exciting. That's something that I look forward to. I want to see how we all change. Because then a lot of the stuff that we do on Sundays is going to be about celebration. It's going to be about sharing stories. It's about Mary Dumont going on 100 miles. What is it, Mary? 100 miles in how many days? 31 days running 100 miles? Running 100 miles to raise money and raise awareness for wounded warriors, right? So it's like when she finally gets there, we're going to celebrate, and she may not talk about it, but I'll talk about it, but whatever we got to do, but we're going to celebrate because she's saying, before God, I want to make a difference with my life, and I want to get in better fitness, and I want to do, it's like all these things coming together going to make her a better person. So then when we come together, we're going to share about the things that we're up to, the things that we're doing in the name of Christ, and how we're making a difference in our own lives, in our families, in our communities. And then, of course, to develop our relationship with God. So, like, what's the one area? Like, if you examine your 7S, and you start to say, like, geez, you know what? My relationship with God is not where I want it to be. What's one thing you can do to strengthen that relationship, to connect more deeply with Him? In John 15, it talks about, like, abiding in Christ, remaining in Him, so that you can go and bear fruit. So where's that place out of balance that we need more of Christ in the midst of that? Okay, that's enough on faith. The last one is fun. And we already kind of touched on this, but I do think it's important when you think about work-life balance, if that's out of whack, it's going to be awfully hard to get to fun. It was interesting. When I did the Oola course, one of the things that kind of showed up for me was like, I was spreading myself into all these other compartments, and I wasn't actually being intentional spending time with friends to go and do things that I liked. I was getting sucked into basically a lot of family and ministry stuff, right? And so that's literally, we're going fishing after this because I said, I gotta be intentional. If I don't put it in the calendar, it's not gonna happen. Last 2 years ago, I was working so much here at the church that I only went fishing twice. If you know me, I usually go twice a week. So it was like, to go 2 times in a whole season, it's like something was wrong, something was off. But it takes something like an Oola course to go through it and say, wait a second, start examining all the areas of your life. And so if you're not having fun, and I mean this sincerely, this isn't being goofy, I'm talking about, like, do you love your life? Do you have a sense of vitality? Are you waking up every day and going, this is gonna be a great day? Or you kind of go, oh my God, this sucks. Like, seriously, I gotta do this again? You know, you can see how this plays into your job, this plays into your relationship with God, it plays into your relationships, your friendships, your family, it all. So if all those things are out of whack, it's gonna be awfully difficult to have fun. So I have to build and carve fun into my calendar. And then another part of this is, don't take yourselves too seriously. So many of ourselves want to be perfect. Even on Oola courses, like some of you are like, yeah, I can't wait to do this, because you have like that control and that perfectionistic, and you're like, yeah, right, and you like the little check off list, all that stuff. But then in that, you can feel like a failure because you take yourself way too seriously. That means stop the other service at 11:30, so we're going to wrap up. So, you know what, in life's going to happen. You have enough times of seriousness in life. But to take yourselves too seriously. Like, I love taking risks in life. I love trying different things because I never look at it as a failure. I look at it as it's a fun experiment. And I'm going to have fun doing it. I'm going to have fun learning from it, right? And then it's like, I don't have to take myself too seriously. I'm not here to impress anybody. Jesus was probably the person that I feel is most comfortable in his own skin. He knew why he was here, and he just lived it. And if you really study the scriptures well, he was a fun guy. He really was. He had a lot of, why does it talk about him spending a lot of time with sinners and tax collectors? They had a lot of fun together. And yet he was very intentional in all these other ways. So build that into your schedule. I'm going to close in prayer, and then we'll continue on into the week. Father, we thank you for this time. We thank you that we're a church that actually cares about each other's lives and how we're growing and how we're becoming disciples of Christ. I pray your Spirit would empower us to assess this, even start looking at this week, to start looking at the 7 F's and start like, all right, what area do I want to start to go to work on? And God, do something inside of us. Stir something up and help us become more like you. In Jesus' name, amen. I want to encourage you before you go, get to know some folks, right? Like now COVID's kind of, we're getting a little bit better. You know, they lift the mask thing, all that stuff. Like, enjoy ice cream together, get to know some folks. We're going to play some music, hang out, do whatever. If you got to go, we understand. Have a great week, and then we'll see you next week. God bless you.